Welcome to the GoPROcast, where we invite business doers who are changing lives by sharing their stories, their strategies and tactics, and who bravely talk about their failures that actually led to their biggest successes. Now it's time to Go Pro with Jeremy Torisk. That bass. I've been trying to replace that music, but I haven't found anything cooler yet. My guest today, thank you for joining me at the GoPROcast. And I have a fellow South Floridian here for you today. His name is Mike Ficarra, and he is a seasoned entrepreneur and consultant whose core focus is on growth and scaling strategies for his clients. He also has the expertise in personal branding and social media strategies. He's had the opportunity to work in a variety of industries over his career as he's transitioned from the classroom to the boardroom. Please welcome a friend of mine named Mike Ficarra to the GoPROcast.
All right. Thank you, Jeremy,
buddy,
for having me. I'm excited.
Good. Yeah, I'm glad you're here. We've been kind of been a big gap between the time I was on your show and the time now that you're appearing on this one. Probably the longest one I've had with a fellow podcast swapper.
Yeah. It seems like yesterday and a while ago, all at the same time, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I start my show with an homage to an old friend of mine, Steve Noodleberg, who's also a personal coach and does all this great stuff for the community here. Tell me something good, my friend.
Yes. And I know Steve. So, I met Steve before. I shouldn't say I know him. Great guy. Really enjoy his content, and his huddle in the morning when I can catch it is always enjoyable. So I enjoy his little music montages and stuff like that. So like you said, anyone who's not following him definitely should be. So tell you something good. It's great to be here. Obviously we're kicking off 2022 now, so we're into this new year, which I will say this is probably the first year I can't really feel like it's changed, but I know it has.
The clock turned over, but
yeah. So, but I appreciate you having me on. I'm excited to sort of dig into this and share a little bit of my story and a little bit about my new book I just came out with, like Socks on a Rooster. So I have an open book to you and your audience today.
Yeah, that's I appreciate that. We're going to get into all that stuff. And I tell you what I like to do is tell my, my listeners and the people who listen to me know that when I speak to people, I like to start at the start. And so tell us a little bit about how you became the Mike Ficarra business coach and entrepreneur and all that stuff. What was your, because you said you transitioned from the classroom to the boardroom. So tell us about how you started.
Yeah, well, we go way back. It was May 14th, 1980. I was even lazy back then. I think I was like 2-3 weeks late, as my mother tells the story. So I think I was supposed to be born in March if she tells the story correctly. So it's kind of a good start to my story because I was always lazy. I even kid around today and say I'm still a little bit lazy. But I've learned how to work that to my advantage in some ways. I'm never a good student, always a really bad student. Never did well in school from basically kindergarten. They wanted to hold me back in kindergarten. My dad said, no way. And then they ended up holding me back in first grade, which was cool because, I got to master in Legos. So that was exciting. So when you're a bad student, what do? You become a teacher, right? That's really the career path that has been set out for you as a bad student. I actually, kind of lofted around in college, failed out, was waiting tables, and one of my old teachers came into I was waiting tables at Chili's and came in and said, hey, would you be interested in substitute teaching? I'm like, that sounds like a really easy job, so I said sure. I went in and I substituted.
I guess you did remember how you treated your substitute teachers.
Yes. I was like, well, that seems easy, but yes, I remember getting some of that. So I came in very strict, obviously, based on that, but I loved it. I fell in love with teaching. Actually, I was young. I was about 22 years old and ended up finishing my degree in psychology just so I could kind of get it done. And then I tried to teach psychology for a little bit, ended up teaching theology. Did that for the better part of a decade. And I did this in the early 2000s. And it's when a lot of the technology that we're enjoying right now, podcasting, YouTube, all that was kind of just in its infancy stage, but I was bringing it into my classroom. Like I had a Twitter account, like I would do my exam reviews on my podcast. Like it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And it was a great time to be a teacher. So I said, hey, why not get my master's degree in educational technology? So my master's was probably the only time I did well in school. I actually got pretty much almost all A's. I think there was one course I got like a B in.
Wow. Where'd you go for that? Is that local or was that
I did it online. I did it at Full Sail University.
Full Sail's great? Yeah.
Yeah, because it was very hands-on. Everyone else wanted to give me a master's degree in PowerPoint, and Full Sail was really doing some creative stuff. So I ended up going there. But as you mentioned, Full Sail is a great school, but it's a little more expensive than the state school. So,
Yeah.
so in the midst of getting my master's, my wife got pregnant with our second child. So I was like, I got to find a different job.
Wow.
And I went to apply for an assistant principal job in your neck of the woods, actually in Coral Springs, at St. Andrew's Catholic School. Ended up getting the job, and they were unknowingly running a startup out of that school. And that is a very long story, but I kind of freaked out. I literally called my wife and my old principal crying and tried to get my job back, and they were like, no. So I dug my heels in. It was basically an online, you talk about ahead of the times. This is a little over 10 years ago. We were an online learning platform for schools.
Wow.
So,
Holy moly, that was ahead of its time.
Yeah, especially for Catholic schools. So very specific. But we grew it to 36 states. We ended up getting investment from a guy by the name of Wayne Huizinga. And of course, you're from South Florida, so you know who he is. But any of your listeners that don't, he's the guy that founded Blockbuster and sold it before Netflix destroyed it. He used to own the Miami Dolphins and the Hurricanes.
Yeah, made all his money in garbage too.
Oh yeah, he made a lot of money in waste management. Which, being Italian, I admired that. I'm not going to lie.
He was a Greek, Greek sir from way back. So yeah, him and his wife Marty, they've done a whole lot for the community.
Yeah,
they were good people.
Yeah, their names are all over buildings on here. Really, really great people. I got promised a lot of stuff though, Jeremy. I got promised stock options, equity, and my own private plane, and I got none of that. I got to fly on Wayne's private 747, which I say was quite a bucket list experience, if you will.
Yeah.
And the owner's box at a Dolphins game, which was always a childhood dream of mine. But I didn't get anything, when the company sold, and that's just kind of how business is done. Learned a lot of lessons, and once again, kind of crying in my car, if you will. Two options. One was go back to the classroom, and the other one was like, wait a second, I learned a lot, and I think I could help a lot of businesses. And I spent the better part of the last decade helping businesses, start in the education field, but really worked in a variety of industries from oil and gas, telecommunication, helping businesses grow and scale through really sales and marketing is kind of the areas that I focus on.
Yeah. So then when you transitioned into this, it was a whole new experience. So I know we ask about 2 or 3 tactics and actions that set yourself apart. And you say something that as a Noodleberg, kind of descendant, I know the value of it, but not a lot of people do. And that's to say no a lot, the power of no. Can you tell us about that and how you use it to your benefit?
Yeah, I mean, I always kid around and say, growing up, based on my looks, my height, and my personality, I heard no a lot from girls growing up. So I knew, kind of the meaning of it and the boundaries that it set. But then again, in a lot of ways, I was a people pleaser for the longest time, right? Wanted to make sure I didn't want to let people down, because I lived a life of letting people down. That was kind of what I was used to. So as I started getting into consulting, can you build a website? Yes. Can you do this? Can you run an ad campaign? Can you create a graphic? Yes. I figured, I said yes to everything. And I started to learn that while it made people, people trust you when they first meet you. They trust you until they don't. And I would say yes. And I learned that by saying no, they trusted me even more, right? They liked me for saying yes, but they trusted me for saying no.
That's interesting.
And when I learned the boundaries of what I could and couldn't do, and I was very clear on that, changed my business, changed the way I did things. I would say for the first, and that was a rough lesson learned. I'd say for the first half of my consulting career, that was very difficult. And especially going into teaching, they don't really give you much preparation. They throw you in a classroom and tell you don't show fear and just teach. So I was used to that kind of fake it till you make it, right?
Yeah.
And then in the schools, hey, can you do the after school club? Can you do this? I was used to saying yes. So that transition to learning to say no, but it changed my business, changed my life. It let me start to learn what the clients I should be taking, the things I shouldn't be doing in my business that I should bring team members on for. No, really just taught me so much in my business.
Well, how did that come, that revelation?
It was really through a lot of failure, a lot of too much of saying yes. And then I did have a business partner that he started to see I was saying yes too much of the time, or a business partner and mentor, actually. And he said, he kind of said, my favorite word is no. Like I said, I'm a teacher. Most of the stuff I say and do is stolen. So it's really, it was really from him, and he was kind of an elder statesman, if you will, and kind of taught me a lot of that on the power of no.
And so that's when you started figuring out what you were good at and what
Yep.
you weren't good at, and kind of just focused on staying in your lane per se.
Yeah, yeah, and kind of doubling down. And like I said, it goes a lot back, I think, to trust. I felt that when I was saying yes to people, they trusted me to do it, and I realized how much it disappointed them and how much I lost their trust.
Yeah.
So when I realized I could keep their trust by
Yeah.
saying no and learning what I was good and not good at, but I would say the trust thing and just the confidence that people put in me really defined and help. I asked myself now, okay, like what would happen? How would this person feel if I said yes to this and didn't deliver, as
Yeah.
opposed to if I said no and just didn't do it, you know?
Yeah. So how did the Mags group come about?
So the Mags Group is I didn't realize when I named it, because some people say, is that political? I said, no, it's not. It just sounds kind of like a political slogan you may have heard. It's actually named after my kids, Michael, Anthony, Giovanni, and Stella. So it's the first initials of each of their names. We're Irish, if you can't know. Good, strong Italian names. So that came about through and actually my partner that I just mentioned, I mentored with him, and I had a company called Classrooms Today. We're mainly doing stuff in the educational space. He kind of wanted to continue to go down that road. I had some other opportunities, so we split, and I formed the Mags Group about probably 4 years ago now.
Yeah.
And that was the genesis of it. And it was really I wanted to focus on helping people in 3 key areas: marketing, sales, and implementation. That's where I saw businesses had the biggest needs, and that was kind of the genesis of it. And once again, much like in my life, my wife was pregnant with my daughter at the time when I started the company. So
Yeah. Common theme.
Yeah,
We
when
have
you're having
4
a
of 'em.
baby, yeah, you're like, I'm big on, like, most people are like, how do I get more stable? I'm like, how do I drastically change and disrupt my life because I'm having a kid, So,
Right. But no pressure there.
yeah, exactly.
So then when you got the business going, and how did you decide then what you definitely wanted to focus on then? Was it just something that you did best, or was it something that you liked to do best, or was it a time commitment where you would have to work less time at doing, X, Y, or Z? What was
Yeah,
that? How'd you narrow that down? Or
the Max Group was kind of the first breakout I had of doing something on my own.
Mhm.
Previously, I've always worked with, even my business partner I had was my boss at the Huizinga project that we worked on. And this is the first time I was kind of going out on my own. And I really actually had this identity of always being Robin, a
Mm.
Batman and Robin.
Yeah, yeah.
I always felt like I was the number 2 guy, right? So I really had difficulty of like, okay, I'm going to go on my own. And I was very nervous and like, well, what do I do? What am I good at? I kind of
Yeah.
like really got down on myself and was like, hey, I don't
Like
know what I'm
imposter
good at.
syndrome a little bit.
Yeah, imposter syndrome, like I felt like a failure in some ways. So what I did was, I was putting out a lot of content at the time. I was doing Facebook Lives, and I was doing Facebook Lives where I would that's why I said I enjoy Steve's content so much. I play a song, I come out dancing in my chair, and I was doing that on Facebook Live, and then I was just talking about stuff I knew in business, just putting little tidbits out there. And I kept getting people messaging me, hey, I love what you're doing. I love all this. So I really went on a tour when I started the Mags Group and separated from my business partner. I went and I offered to take people out to lunch or dinner and said, can you just tell me what you think I do? Like, what do you think I'm good at?
Nice. Wow.
And I
That's
just listened.
interesting.
Yeah, I just
I
listened.
have been given that advice too, actually,
Yeah,
not too long ago.
yeah, and it really, because I kid around, I really have no defined skill. I really don't. I don't have a trade. There's nothing I'm really that good at. But I just listened and kind of asked people and asked them what they were doing, and if they were to hire me, where do they think I could help?
Interesting.
And it just developed, and it just developed into like getting additional clientele. It developed to getting additional people. Kind of, and I started to grow a team, and fortunately, I had some clients that wanted to stay with me. From when I had come over with, from the other company, I had one client, she stuck with me. And then I just really grown it from there, started to sit on a couple boards, and did some things with that, with my church and a couple other organizations, got involved in the Chamber of Commerce. And through that, just was able to really grow the business, like I said, over the last 4 years, and find some great partnerships and really develop, kind of what I would say is my skill, which I think is just, everyone says Mike's the guy you call to have the difficult conversation, but, really kind of a consigliere, outsourced COO is where I've kind of landed. So,
Yeah. Well, then that kind of brings us to another adventure that you went on, which is writing Like Socks on a Rooster. How did you even start thinking about what you wanted to do? And then how did that manifest? Because I know that I did a little soiree to that too with my book. And it was most probably not like a lot of other people who wrote during COVID,
yep,
where I was
yep.
locked down. But how did it come about for you?
So, Remember, Jeremy, I'm lazy.
I keep hearing lately.
This is a key theme. So, but I've learned how to leverage my laziness, and the book came about something I've always wanted to do. And once again, funny thing is, it came through failure. Had a buddy of mine publish a book, invited me to his book launch, and I went to it. And there was a guy there. He was basically wrote a chapter in a book. It was like 12 entrepreneurs. They got together and wrote this book. And this guy said, "Hey, I'm going to do another book. Would you like to have a chapter featured in it?" I was like, "Oh, that'd be really cool."
Oh,
so I
yeah,
wrote the chapter,
great.
paid him. I think it was like $1,000 to have my chapter in his book, and he never wrote the book.
That'll
So
learn you.
here I am at $1,000. And then, like I said, I was doing the live videos. A guy came across my videos. He was a ghostwriter and needed some business development consulting. And I said, "Hey, listen, I want to write a book. You need consulting." So we kind of bartered our services. He ghost wrote the book for me. I gave him the chapter that I had already written and said, "Here's the basis of what I want to do." It was called "I Failed First Grade."
I love it.
And that was really the basis of the book and kind of the foundation of it. And then so he ghost wrote the book for me, which was awesome. It was a great process. Eli Gonzalez, he's the godfather of ghostwriting. He ghost wrote it for me and really got me through it. I edited it a lot and did different things. We started it right before COVID, which was interesting.
Yeah.
So it kind of changed directions a little bit as all that was going on.
Yeah.
But that was really the genesis of it. Was kind of, once again, a failed opportunity, lost money, and then ended up doing some consulting and kind of bartered that. And Eli did a great job on ghostwriting it. And the forward's actually written by Natalia, who when I mentioned to you kind of having that Robin syndrome that I had, where I felt like I was more of the Robin. She says, "No, you're Iron Man." And she really, she was my business coach, and she got me to see the Iron Man. I mean, you can't see it, but there's a picture right over my shoulder there. You can see the corner of it a little bit, but there's an Iron Man hangs in my office. So she wrote the forward for my book, which was really awesome.
So how did what's the crux of it? What do your readers get out of that book?
Yeah, so the title is obviously not just to get your attention, but it's something my father used to say all the time when I was a kid. If we were moving a piece of furniture or we were doing work outside, whenever we were done or we got something perfect, he would say, "Oh, like socks on a rooster,"
Really?
Like, good. And I just thought, my dad's my hero. I just thought whatever he said was gold.
Yeah.
So as I went away to college and like I said, those girls that didn't like me, I would say that sometimes, and we get these weird looks. But then when I started teaching, kids are the most honest. I would say that, and they're like, "That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard." I said, "No, you never heard that. It means this." And they're like, "No, that's not what it means." So I titled the book that because I think I've been seeing we're in a period where people are using entrepreneurial cliches and not knowing what they mean. Especially at the end of this year. People are talking about manifesting it and positive thought and envision what you want. I'm like, all that's beautiful, but it's kind of like saying a saying you really don't know what it means. You're going to sound stupid if you don't know the work that goes behind it. So really, it's kind of
very important.
I love positive thoughts and entrepreneurial sayings.
Yeah, you burn the walls down with that one. I got, what's his name? Something Lee. Brad Lee has this thing where he drops bombs, man.
Yeah, dropping bombs.
It's so cool. It's got the sound effect. I don't have that, but I started doing this before I knew about his. So at least I had the thought of it before.
And I like that. I think that's a little more Miami, if you will.
It is Brad's
in Vegas, but that's a very Miami thing. So I like that.
I gotta put some noise with it now.
I like that. So. Yeah, so that's what we focus
good.
on.
Yeah, you got to put the word behind. You got to put the work behind it.
Yeah. So how do you take your network as your net worth and really make it your net worth? How do you leverage it? Because there's plenty of people that are in the fan club. That's called an entourage, right? That's not your network. Is not your net worth. You can be in an entourage, or you can really level up. And there's tactics I think that help, especially early stage entrepreneurs, right? And there's no barrier to entry to entrepreneurship.
But there's a very high tax if you do it wrong.
Yes. And one of my first thing is, and I think I put it on the sheet there when you had me fill out the questionnaire, was don't call yourself a CEO. You are not the CEO. It's such a lame title nowadays, I feel like, in real CEOs. I've been around real CEOs, like the Wayne Huizenga, they'd laugh at you, because you haven't done the work. And I say it's not even that, it's more about earn it. You really want that
you haven't earned it.
You really want that title, make yourself a vice president and then earn it. It's your company. You can do whatever you want.
Chief bottle washer first. All right. That's where you start off at the very bottom.
Yep.
When you're wearing all the hats.
Yep. Digging the holes, you got to start somewhere, and then it's, and that's okay. And I was actually on a call earlier where I was talking to a gentleman about, even in my company, I've done it all before I give it to someone else to do.
Yeah.
And I've done it well, but at least I know, so I can say, hey, this is how you do it. So that's why I think, especially in entrepreneurship, you got to earn your stripes before you can call yourself the general. you know?
Yeah. And then plus you can know if they're kind of BSing you
Yep.
through it, and just, do they know what they're doing? Are they trying to pull one over, on you?
Yeah.
And then you kind of know about how long it should take. Because if I don't know what I'm doing and it takes you twice as long and you're supposed to be the subject matter expert, we have a problem here.
Yes. Yes.
You
Exactly.
maybe need to sharpen your interview skills better.
Yes.
You have people in there.
Little bit.
So, what are you doing these days? Who do you find that is most in need of your services? 'Cause I know you could cross industry with your skills, but do you see sort of a trend for 2022?
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny because one of the companies I partner with, Brand Ethos, my partner Alicia and I were just talking about this. I think it's, and here's another thing I love that I've been seeing a lot. Know your value. Ask for more money.
Oh, I love that one. Hold on, that one's good. The people who are listeners can't see it, but the walls are on fire. They're melting because I had that epiphany. Well, it wasn't an epiphany. I had somebody who's very successful tell me to do that. If you charge for your time and you help a smaller company, you're going to get paid X. And if you charge for your time and help a larger company, you're going to get paid the same X.
Yeah.
If you charge on your results, then you can 10X that when you help the larger company because you're going to give them larger results.
And here's the thing. You got to find that mid-range with that though, right? Because charging more doesn't mean you're able to deliver more. And I think a lot of people
better deliver.
They don't ask that, but that's the problem. Not enough people are saying that. Oh, I should be charging more for my services. Okay, but are you delivering more? Are you delivering the value of what you're asking, right? Because listen, I've overpriced, and once again, it goes back to that trust, right? People have said yes to me, but then maybe they weren't ready to do what we needed to do, and they invested too much, or they thought they were getting that much more for that, and I had to say no. Remember, we said it was A, B, C, and D. So
yeah,
I think one of the things that I look at with clients, and I always tell them is two things. One, you have to be willing to participate. So I'm willing to work with a client on almost any level if they're willing to participate and engage. And the second thing is you have to be willing to invest in your business. I think a lot of people want to spend money to solve problems instead of creating solutions, right? And I think that's one of the things. So the clients we work with tend to be more of an, I love working with startups, but it's so hard because they're so early stage. And like I said, I got 4 kids. I can't see my kids equity
too.
Yeah.
Going 20 different directions, right? We're gonna do this. Now we're gonna do that. Now we're gonna do this.
Yeah. So I love a business that's like, hey man, we've hit that, maybe $100,000 or $200,000 mark, but we can't get past that, or we've hit that $1 million mark and we can't break that. I love companies that have kind of got it going but are stuck. And I love coming in and trying to unstick them, right? Because usually it's like I said, it's one thing that we need to come in and fix, and or maybe they're taking on too much. But we really focus on, like I said, companies that need help with either marketing, sales, and implementation. Those are the 3 areas where we do well. And that's where we if you're having problems with all of those things, we could come take that off your plate. And we're kind of an outsourced CMO, COO. Instead of trying to hire one person, you can bring us in, and we have a whole team of people.
Sure, that like you said, you stay in your lane, but the companies need different ancillary help. You know who to call for that.
Yep.
I could always tell when I walk into a company that's hired me if they're going to succeed in the first 2 minutes.
Yes,
because when we gather everyone in the boardroom and I start talking, and then the CEOs or the chief operating officers, the people who really are the head and face of the company, when they leave, they're okay, we're gonna leave it up to you. It's going to fail because they're not going to support anything you say. They're not going to know anything you say. They're not going to be able to reaffirm anything that I say, and it's going to fail within 6 months.
Yeah, and I'll tell you a story that kind of illustrates that, where I think a lot of people want to close. And I have a client that's been with me now for really from the start for a couple of years. And I asked her the other day. I said, hey, we took her from kind of 6 figures to 7 figures. I hate saying that because it sounds so cheesy, but we did. And
it is.
I said to her, I said, because she keeps talking about, I always remember the first meeting with you. I said, well, what is it that made you sign the deal? What made you want to work with it? And she goes, at one point you could see I was hesitant, and you turned to me and said, if you don't want to do this, don't do it.
Yeah, that's great. The takeaway,
and I was just like, and I was very, and I said, yeah, I was just being honest. I'm like, I don't want you to feel like I'm pressured. And listen, if you don't want to do this, don't do this. Like, if you want to do it, I think this is what would help us win. And she's like, the minute you said that, I knew I could trust you.
Yeah.
And the rest has been ever since. Like of course, we've been accountable to that though, right? We're worthy of that trust. And I think not enough agencies, especially in marketing out there, are worthy of that trust and worthy of that really service to their clients. And we put it, I say we're a people organization. We put people first. If you put
people over everything, right?
You'll win. You'll win every time.
My old buddy Scott McGregor, that's his whole guiding principle, people over everything. And he's put his money where his mouth is with the TCC, the Talent Championship, Talent Council Championship, one of those three. Anyways, the TCC. And he's got one of the most generous communities of givers that I've ever been a part of. The TCC, awesome. Anyway, Scott McGregor, that's people over everything. And that's exactly it. And he's into recruiting. He's been a recruiter, top company of coming up with a company called Something New, where they, that's just it. The whole philosophy is putting people first, and they have found the secret sauce to making unbelievably successful organizations with those two words, people, three words, that's people awesome. Over everything, but people first.
Yeah.
With the concept. So that's huge right there. Knowing that is huge.
Yeah. And going back to your earlier question of like, who do you want to work with? Is people that understand that, you know? We always say after we get on the sales call, we tell those are our people or they're not our people, you know?
Yeah.
And that's kind of been our mantra moving into 2022 is we want to work with our people, you know?
Yep. So tell me if I'm hot or warm with this, because what I've preached, I got 4 founding kind of principles of my company. But when it comes to marketing and branding, it's been a complete paradigm shift and mindset shift in my head. And I do it 100% with building one day at a time, a new relationship with somebody on LinkedIn, somebody who is in the orbit of where I want to be. They're running a business. They have employees that they may or may not need help or will one day. So I go into them with trying to meet them organically over the internet and just try to see if I can get to know them personally, see how we can support each other in our network of contributors, of givers. And that has changed my business.
Yes.
It's changed my life. But do you kind of preach that, or is there a different type of marketing, especially with the social media stuff, that you recommend?
Yeah, you are spot on with that, right? It's called social media, not media social. Right, for a reason, because the social comes first, and if you're putting that engagement, if you're putting that interaction before the content, a pretty picture without engagement is an art project.
Yes,
it's not social media. The idea and more I always tell people I'd rather see you put out less content and do more engagement in the comments or on other people's pages or just messaging. That's the whole point of this thing, right? Is that's what it's called, and like I said, that's why the word social comes first. And even I don't care if you're a restaurant or a realtor, you need to engage with your audience, right? Like your people want to know who you are. Like if you're a restaurant, they want to hear the story of like, why do you make the best pizza? They don't want to see the picture of the best pizza. Why do you make the best pizza, right? If you're a realtor, I don't want to hear that like interest rates dropped by 1/4 point. I want to hear why you love selling in your community.
Who have you helped?
And what your mission is, like what do you want to do? So I think when you know what people are about on social media more than what they do, that's important.
Absolutely. And Jesse said it good. Jesse Itzler has the 3 C's. You can compliment, you can celebrate, and you can console. If you just look for something to do once a day, look through the feeds, and you can either compliment, you can celebrate, or you can console. I added a 4th C to that. The JT 4th C is do it consistently.
Yes.
Do it consistently. And that's just one way to engage your feed, by you're scrolling and you get to, communicate your care and your connection with these people. And you see it come back tenfold.
Yeah. And for your audience, if they haven't, I don't know if you've taken it, his Jesse Itzler's BYLR course, Build Your Life Resume course, is by far the best course I've ever taken in my entire life.
Wow, that's
I took the second run of it that he did, and it was very small, and he was actually really very engaged. We got on Zoom calls and we had a book club. It was awesome. But I tell you, the content in that course and the lessons he teaches, if you or the people in your audience haven't taken that, is the best investment you could ever make, is that course. That's one of the best ones I've ever taken. And it's not really business strategy as much as it is life strategy, but I can't say enough good things about Jesse. He is just
he's awesome. His wife is awesome too. His whole his assistant actually has a chapter in the book that I wrote in for Standing O.
Awesome.
So that was pretty cool. Just being around all these people are amazing. He's you find his name comes up in a lot of circles because he's helped so many people in different places in his life.
He's
got a cool story.
Quality guy, definitely a quality guy.
So we're looking to speaking of LinkedIn, we want to connect with you. Anybody who in my audience wants to connect with Mike, it's the website, of course, is just MikeFicara.com. MikeFicara.com. or the LinkedIn is probably my favorite of all. It is linkedin.com/in/Mike Ficarra. I think there's one more slash in there usually, but if they want to get the book, I know that you're getting a special offer, and to tell you the truth, this is the first time I've ever had a code with my name on it, so I appreciate that.
Yes. Yes. So if you'd like to get the book, you go to the website. Now there's a link on Amazon, but you're going to see on the website. It's not on there now. It'll be live for you guys when you go to say shop, and you'll just click on shop, and then you'll add the book to the cart. You'll enter in the code Jeremy. You'll get 50% off the book. And I will autograph it to you guys as well. To thank you for taking the time out to buy the book, and more importantly, listen to this podcast.
So they go to Amazon?
No, they'll do it right on the website. They'll just go to
good. I was gonna say, if I get people to go to Amazon, they ship them the book. I don't get to do it.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
If they buy it from me, it comes out of the back of my truck.
Yeah. It'll be right there on the site. That's a great thing about Amazon. They do all the work for you, but this is
that's you miss out on that touch.
So. Yep.
I appreciate you, and we're gonna get behind you, get this book up and out here, get some good reviews, some good 5-star reviews on the book, and get you on that New York bestsellers list.
I'd appreciate that. I even appreciate the 3-star reviews. Like I said, I need that feedback too, so don't be scared.
Yeah, that's true.
To be honest.
That's why I liked when I got into Scott's book, because now I could say that my first book, Labor to Leadership, is my best-selling book. It's not the bestseller, but it's my best-selling book.
It's your best-selling book. Yeah, there you go.
So I got an AB, so it's my best-selling book. So it gave me the latitude to be kind of a liar without being a liar.
Exactly. You don't kind of have to fake it till you make it, but a little.
Well, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your knowledge with the audience, and we will do it again because we always have so much fun with each other. I appreciate it. You got to come here to the Get To studio.
Yes,
and, we'll do it in person after this whole.
Oh, I love that.
Mess is over with.
Yes. So we don't have to wear a mask, or So I still may come in my basketball shorts and collared shirt though.
That's okay. I got a couple of jackets and sports coats that you can put on up here.
Perfect.
I appreciate you, man.
All right, thanks, Jeremy. Same here. Thank you for the time, and thank you to everybody listening. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, Mike. Well, appreciate everybody listening and tuning in today for the GoPROcast. Tune in at the same time next week. We're going to drop one of these once a week, and actually we're going to end up going to twice a week because I just found a little honey hole of guests. So we're going to really get ratcheting it up here and get some business stewards on here sharing their stories of success, their failures, their adversities, and dropping the nuggets to how they can help you get successful. We appreciate you. We'll see you all next time.